Ben to do something with this for me.
All right, there we go. All right, awesome. Okay, we're rocking and rolling here. Just give me 1 second. There we go. All right, awesome. Oh, okay, we're rocking and rolling here. 1 second. Technical difficulties. Just give me a second. There we go. There we go. All right, awesome. Oh, okay. Rolling. Okay, welcome. I'm Lita Mae Button, and this is the weekly Dildo Dilemma Humor in the Face of Trauma podcast. I want you to imagine being paralyzed by fear because each step that you try to take forwards ends up being at this point blocked with obstacles that live inside: doubt, insecurities, feelings of abandonment. That was me from the age of 16 to 22. Then bam, life sucker punched me. I became a single parent to my son with a lifelong and at times life-threatening blood disorder called hemophilia B. And I knew that I needed to deal with these obstacles to be strong and help him grow into a productive and well-adjusted adult. So I began boxing competitively through one punch, one competition, and overcoming one fear at a time. I did it. I learned how to punch back at life, absorbing the shock of life's blows and channeling those blows into empowering myself and tackling those fears in the ring rippled out into my everyday life, giving me the confidence to live life on my own terms and be the #1 role model for my son and protect us if the need should arise. And it's why I'm a motivational speaker and I help women overcome trauma and violence and regain confidence and trust in their bodies through boxing. Because I know the end result when you are empowered on every level of your being. Because when a woman takes back her power and steps into it from the inside out, it has a rippling effect into the world. The world needs to heal, that the world needs to heal. And when a woman empowers herself first and foremost, she shows and nurtures onto and into us what is possible, which teaches us how to treat each other with love, kindness, and compassion. And the world needs this more than ever, especially when it comes to ending violence against women. So if you're joining and watching this today, first off, thank you. And also, it's why I'm doing the weekly podcast and movement called Dildo Dilemma, Humor in the Face of Trauma, which is about bringing awareness, advocacy, and action to help eliminate violence against women in Newfoundland and worldwide. And in case you're wondering, why Newfoundland? Well, 2 reasons. First, it's my home and it's my family's home. And I recently just found out in the last few months that violence against women in Newfoundland statistic is higher than the rest of Canada, with 1 in 2 women over the age of 15 who will experience a form of stalking or violence in their lifetime. And so I want to make lasting changes for my family now and my grandkids that will be born into the future. And to make changes, we have to first focus on what's happening inside and closest to us. And second, Newfoundland is just plain awesome. If you haven't been here, you should come and visit. It's called The Rock and of loving kindness for a reason. So it's Canada's most eastern province that is to an island of just over 500,000 people with its own time zone and the names of towns like Blow Me Down and Dildo. However, there's been an imposter since 2019 by the name of Jimmy Kimmel, who has claimed himself as mayor to our town of Dildo. Yet not once has he visited Dildo or even stepped into the island of Newfoundland. And I just found out in the last month that some other dude by the name of Jerry D, who is also not a Newfoundlander, he is Canadian, is trying to take a run for the mayorship of Dildo. And he even has a comedy show that he's touring in Eastern Canada coming up, but he's not visiting Newfoundland. So it's time to put a woman in charge to advocate for Newfoundland. Let's say we can call it a real dildo dilemma with what's happening. So when you put a woman in charge to lead, it can help make changes by nurturing instead of demanding. So hashtag lead a May button, hashtag mayor of dildo, hashtag nurturing leadership, hashtag time for nurturing change. But most importantly today, I want to welcome our guest, Deanna. Thank you so
Dina.
much. Dina, sorry, thank you very much, Dina, for joining us here today. Dina helps women overcome trauma and reclaim their stunning self-worth and confidence to create love and happiness. So, Dina, thank you so much for joining us. Why did you decide to say yes to being a guest today on the podcast Dildo Dilemma, Humor in the Face of Trauma?
Because every message we get out there, Leah, is about impacting people and waking people up about this is a problem and we need to work in togetherness to communicate, to create healthy relationships, and to build that up from the top to the bottom, whether it's through government changes, through different institutions, as well as having those heart-to-heart conversations with compassion to communicate that this is an issue that we all need to solve in togetherness.
I love it, especially the heart to heart,
Sorry
right?
about the dog in the background.
Okay. If the goats were in my house, they'd be jumping up on my shoulder and trying to... So tell us a little bit about your experience as a coach and how have you seen the effects of violence against women with the coaching that you do?
Okay, so many women, I think you said in your presentation, 1 in 3 is statistically what it is. And it's probably more than that because a lot of people don't even feel comfortable coming forward. So a lot of times relationships break down because of communication of feelings that are extreme, let's just say. And
Yeah.
that could be in the form of violence, it could be mental abuse, it can be physical abuse. So when I hear those stories from women, just how can we change it and learn from being in those situations so we can create healthy boundaries as well as to be able to protect ourselves? Because a lot of times the law don't hear our plea
Yeah.
because it's behind closed doors. It's one person sharing their story over another. And anybody who has been through it is not going to make up the story about it. Most people, let's just say, there are people out there that would do that, but 90% of the women are so ashamed, feel so horrible about their self because it definitely affects their self-esteem that when they come forward, their story is heart-wrenching. And it's about not being able to be in a healthy relationship and how they can change that. Because there's men out there, they got feelings too, but the way they express their feelings is taking advantage of women sometimes. So we have to break down those barriers and be able to have conversations to change. And this starts with education too. Educating women, educating men. No one controls anybody. It's not about control. It's about relating on a level that you can be yourself and not feeling like you need to lose yourself in a relationship by letting someone bow to you or control you so they can get their needs met and not worry about your needs. So it is a needs and feeling situation where we need to have those conversations with compassion and educate men and women that it's never okay and to always come forward and talk about it with compassion.
I love how you talk about education and compassion, because empathy and compassion seems like it. I think for those of us that
Mhm.
immerse ourselves in that, it seems like a normal. But when you scroll through, especially in this day and age, social media everywhere, empathy and compassion is like drastically missing in the messaging, especially in our leaders that are in the northern North America, pointing out Trump because that's the messaging that you hear everywhere right now. How would you break down those barriers with education and compassion when you're working with your clients?
Breaking it down is it's body identity,
Okay.
it's body authenticity, it's body protection. Now, I will say we are all erotic human beings. That's how we got here. But how we connect is vibrating with energy that that expresses how you feel without anger, without violence, without extreme means, without taking temper tantrums, without hurting another person. So I'm going to come back with my big parameter, compassion. Like,
Mm.
yes, we all like to be able to be felt loved and understand and respected, but it's a two-way street. And when those parameters are not in place or those attributes are not in a relationship, it's going to break down. And I'll go so far as it causes dis-ease in your body. That's anxiety. That's sickness. It can be anything from lack of sleep to depression. Because if you can't express how you feel and be your authentic self in a relationship, who are you going to be? Are you going to stage yourself to be the mistress of some master who says you have to do this, you have to wear this, you have to do? No, that's not a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship is where we both can be ourselves and respect each other's interest, feelings, and needs. And when you can communicate that without extreme feelings, it balances to be a very healthy relationship. So we need to educate people that we can all be shining knights. We don't
Mm.
have to take our swords and slash people mentally and physically to control them. We are all goddesses. Seriously, we are the co-creators. I call it my code of conduct is I'll respect you, you respect me, and respect each other's barriers about our interest and what we want to do authentically with compassion and understanding and communication and compassion is what it's about. Being able to communicate with compassion without extreme feelings because your needs are not met, not throwing a temper tantrum. So when we have these types of conversations and we can create strategies and interventions, talk about what happened in your past for a moment and look what you can learn so you don't bring that into the next relationship as well. And it's relating on that level.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I love all that eroticism and boundaries, energy, uh, living your authentic self. These are all very, very important concepts that we're just not taught in any mainstream system in this day and age. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to touch base a little bit, have a little bit of an educational break here since you mentioned about eroticism. So today's dildo educational break. First, we'll talk about the Newfoundland town of Dildo. In 1711, during the Queen's Anne War, Trinity Bay residents were ordered to leave their homes and defend themselves against the French on Dildo Island. I really think this must have been a poutine of a time. Hee hee hee. Then itself, prehistoric and ancient times regarding the actual adult toy dildo. The ancient Greece and Rome Greek pottery sculptures often portrayed sexual acts and symbols related to fertility, with representations of phalluses being common. So the actual Greek word alisbos, meaning a sex toy or dildo, is the origin of the modern term, I thought this was modern term,
Mhm.
lesbian, as the island of Lesbos, home to the poet Sappho, which was associated with female homoeroticism, and sex toys were commonly used among women at this time. So very interesting.
Very much so.
Oh. Um, Do you think, as a professional coach with what you do, because you did mention a little bit about like the way that the systems and education is, do you think there's a relationship between educational institutions, media, lack of education on boundaries and self-esteem that persists with the high levels of trauma and violence we have against women?
Well, there's relationships, but they're not really open enough to be able to discuss these things a lot of times without judgment.
Mm.
You know, sex has been something that to talk about it has almost been shameful. And I'd like to share that I was on the Chris Voss show one time, and I said we all need to be human vibrators. But what I meant by that was that we need to raise our vibration of energy to be able to talk about things that are important, that make us authentically us. And yes, we are all erotic human beings, but it's not so much about the sexuality part. It's about accepting the oneness that we all want the same thing, but we have to do it in a way and open up this conversation that it's okay to talk about sex more. It's not a dirty word, and it's the stigma that is attached to certain stereotypes that we need to let go of. But it all goes back to respect, integrity, healthy boundaries, and being able to express your feelings and needs without violence or extreme measures. I'll also tap into the fact that some people, when they do drugs or alcohol,
Mm.
their personality can change, and they think that it's all about them and it doesn't matter about the other person so much. They want their needs met. So we need to have conversations about that too, and how to protect yourself in those situations. So I don't know how much of that fits into what you're talking about or what you're thinking, Leah, but the thing is, Lita, sorry, um, it's more about being able to talk about it in healthy ways so that we can have conversations that lead to strategies and interventions of what is actually healthy, what is okay, what is not okay. And it's also about we all have masculine and feminine energy too. But
Absolutely.
when to be masculine and when to be feminine is another thing in situations. All men have hearts, so do women. And we all have needs, but we all have feelings, and the feelings are connected with our heart. And I'll always say this too. When you say, I believe, do you touch your head or do you touch your heart?
Touch your
Because
heart.
you touch your heart. So a lot of things is about the heart connection. But, you know, we've all had heartache before
Mm.
because it's related to our feelings not being met. It's also feeling like we're not enough. So it's being confident to be able to express how you feel in healthy, compassionate ways so you can connect at all levels from a government opportunity, you know, where we have a committee set up and had some people, couples in there to talk about relationships and how we, like people who are healthy mentors. I have some friends who are great mentors who could sit down and tell you how their relationship works. Having those conversations and being able to share that with people who are struggling in relationships of how compassion and compromise and just kindness and integrity and respect and not control and not sabotaging people by making them feel inferior so that you can feel superior. I'm just throwing a lot of scenarios out here, but this is where it needs to go. Get down to the grit and talk about the things that work and the things that don't work. Teach
Yeah.
people how to relate in relationships with compassion, communication, and needs without having extreme feelings that are negative. And that's what I mean by having that, being that high vibration. We all need to be, human vibrators and talk about that in that way.
I love it. Human vibrators in terms of raising our vibration or energy.
Absolutely. Without
And
fear.
yeah, without fear.
Mhm.
Very true. And it seems like in the last few years, psychologically, there's been a lot of fear that has been instilled on the human race.
Absolutely.
So having these deeper and more
Mhm.
heartfelt conversations is really, really unlayering those pieces of fear and helping us, like you pointed out, step into our authentic self, which is absolutely beautiful. When we resonate that way, we light up the world, right? And
Do.
create light for other people to see their own true and authentic self. So that's really awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dina. So I do want to bring it back. You keep talking about, you've mentioned a few times in terms of like strategies and interventions. Would you be able to give an example of that or of obviously I always am very cognizant of confidentiality of my clients unless they give me permission to share, but would you be able to share an example of what you've kind of come across and used and what's worked?
Yes. One is to have open up a conversation about your feelings.
Mm.
Okay. If your feelings are not being met, if your needs are not being met, sorry, you're
That's
going to
fair.
have negative feelings.
Yeah.
So when you have a negative feeling, ask ask yourself, what is the need that's not being met? Because we all have egos. So in those conversations, we kind of got to park our ego and look at, we kind of all want the same thing, to have a loving, caring, compassionate relationship without having fear of who we are. So I guess you could say a strategy or an intervention would be able to sit down, and I can share with your group if you like, that there's a list of feelings that we all have. There's a list of negative feelings and there's a list of positive feelings. So obviously the positive feelings are when the needs are met. The negative feelings are when the needs are not met. So if you know, oh dear, I don't know why my battery is low because I am plugged in. Okay, sorry about that. Hopefully we can get through this.
Yeah.
Um, Anyway, what I'm saying is that's where the conversation needs to go. Look at what the needs are and the feelings, and that is one strategy to work with this. And also open conversations with people in healthy relationships to be able to share with people that are not in healthy relationships. So you can get to that intimate level of conversation where you can open up and talk about what's in your heart that's hurting and how you can change that. And again, it comes back to compassion that we all have hearts, we all have feelings, we all have needs.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So what is one thing that you would like to share with those that are watching that would help people to take action, to create more of that loving conversation, connecting and compassion with one another to essentially help eliminate and end trauma and violence against women?
Could you just repeat that question again, please?
No problem. So what is one thing that you would like to share with the viewers or anyone watching this that would help people to take action uh, using the loving, compassion, connecting uh, strategies that you're talking about to help support and end trauma and violence against women?
Okay. So first of all, I like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Calm down first before you actually have a conversation with someone. Just get your emotions in balance just for a second and think about, do you want to separate or do you want to connect? Because when you're having that conversation and your mission is to connect, to understand how you can build the relationship rather than break down the relationship, that's the type of conversations we need to have. So, for any couple out there that is struggling, just remember nobody is a mind reader, but you can tell by looking at someone if something's bothering them. So, instead of shouting and attacking, have conversations about the feelings, like why are you feeling this way and what can we do to change it, with compassion, without raising voices, and having that heart to heart conversation. And I always say touch your heart first, because that's where it all starts, having a heart to heart conversation. So I hope that helps someone out there that's struggling, because we're not mind readers, but we can read people's hearts when we see that they're struggling because they're having feelings. And if you see a feeling is not, happening, you want to figure out what the need is. And when you know what the need is, you can change the feeling. And when you change the feeling, you can have a healthier relationship, because it's about compassion. We all have those feelings at times, and we don't want to stay there in the unhealthy feelings.
No, no, that's beautiful and extremely heartfelt and very, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a great strategy, touching your heart, implementing that. I'm not in a relationship and I don't live with anyone right now. So it'd be like if I'm upset and angry with myself, I'd be like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, breathe.
Yeah, it's catching your breath too and bringing yourself to the moment of what do you want, right? Nobody
Yeah.
wants to be angry. I mean, every emotion is valid, but you want to diffuse the situation. You don't really want to, but you don't want to hide it either. And that's why we're not mind readers. We need to communicate about that. You don't
Communication.
want to walk on eggshells in a relationship either, and you want to be yourself. So
Yeah.
all of those things are important attributes, but I will share with your viewers, if they connect with me, that I have a sheet of compassionate needs. It's a feeling sheet and a compassionate sheet of all of our needs. So all of our needs and all of our feelings. So when the feelings are negative, you can look at the sheet and say, well, what can I do to meet that need? And that's where you have that compassionate conversation, knowing that we all have those feelings and needs.
It's a powerful coaching tool. Is there somewhere that it can direct people to find this information, or where can they?
Yeah, you can share my email address where I can attach it to them. Right now, I do have a website, but it's just an umbrella of so many things. So to specifically, or you can do up a little code and send it to me with their information. And, obviously you have to ask for permission, and I can send those sheets to them if you'd like.
I'll share the email here with my email list and through social media.
Yes, you have that email address, and that is the email address I'm using now for my coaching, as well as anything else that I'm involved with, because I am very busy with volunteering work and helping the world be a better place, one heart at a time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Helping the world be a better place one heart at a time. Oh, through heart to heart connection. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Dina, for joining us here today and sharing your coaching expertise. Remember, everyone, you can visit Litame Button, LITAMAEBUTTON.com to subscribe to my email list. Or if you're on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. And remember, violence against women is no laughing matter, even though I'm going to finish today with a couple uh, jokes, because humor in the face of trauma helps deal and helps make life a little bit lighter, because even though it is no laughing matter, we still should be able to laugh the violence away. So,
I'd like to add something else before we end. Is that okay?
yeah, absolutely. Did you want me to share my joke first, or you want to add something, Dina?
I'll just add this very quickly, and then we'll end off with the joke, because it's always nice to do that, to regulate nice, happy feelings. And it fits right in. I also teach 21 ways to be happy for no reason. Because if you go into a relationship and you're not happy, you're more dependent on your partner. So if
Mhm.
you're already happy and it's an inner journey, then you've got a lot more to give. And then it's more of an even exchange if you can give all that happiness and not so much look for it. So, yeah, if it's already inside you, it creates a more healthy relationship. So, goddesscompass.com, if anybody's
Really
interested
cool.
in just like a free consultation to learn about the happy for no reason, which I teach. I taught it at the arena just a little while ago. So, thank you for that. Now you can do your happy jokes, raise our
Okay.
vibration.
This is called Dildo Dilemma, humor in the face of trauma. So we're going to finish with a couple dildo jokes. So, why don't dildos ever tell secrets? Anyone know? Anyone? Anyone know? All right. They can't hold anything in. Wah, wah, wah.
Deep.
Okay. I really like this one. Why are dildos like good friends? They always come through when you need them.
I love it.
All right, awesome. Thank you again, Dina, so much for joining us. And for everyone that didn't quite catch the 21 ways to be happy for no reason, it's goddesscompass.com.
It
Goddesscompass.com.
is.
We all love, like, who doesn't say, oh, I'm really upset that I'm happy today? So we all love to be happy. We all love to be happy. Super important.
Absolutely.
For some of us, we need more tools to work on that. So that's great. 21 ways to be happy for no reason. And then last but not least, if you are in the St. John's area, tomorrow I am doing a women's Saturday, March 1st, tomorrow from 12 to 3:30 p.m. Take Back Your Power beginner boxing seminar. So I will send out all that links and that we talked about here today in the podcast. So again, thank you so much, Dina, for joining us here today and
Thank
sharing
you.
all that heartfelt vibrational energy and compassion with us and your expertise.
Thank you, everyone.